Welcome, everyone. Let's jump right into this whole decentralized finance thing, or DeFi, which is really turning the traditional finance world on its head.
Yeah, it's fascinating how DeFi is offering a like permissionless open system where anyone with an internet connection can get into financial services without, well, needing a bank.
Exactly. It's like, um, think about the origins. Bitcoin started it all in 2009, and then DeFi evolved as kind of like an extra layer of power built on top of those decentralization
hmm
principles. Instead of a centralized bank, you have smart contracts running the show.
Right? And those smart contracts are um, basically self-executing agreements that, you know, replace traditional intermediaries, making it super accessible and borderless.
Absolutely. And it's almost like a massive financial playground where instead of banks controlling your funds, you have these decentralized protocols where you can lend, borrow, stake, and even trade assets, all happening 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. What really stands out is that DeFi not only deals with lending, but also trading on decentralized exchanges or DEX, right? And these DEX let traders handle their own crypto without handing over custody to a big centralized exchange.
Yes, and those decentralized exchanges rely on liquidity pools and uh, automated market makers to like automatically set prices. It's like the system itself fosters a built-in market without any need for human middlemen.
hmm And then you've got aggregators and wallets that um, bring all these features together, like having a one-stop interface to manage and or move assets smartly between various yield farming platforms.
Right? Yield farming is sort of like the Wild West of DeFi. You're using your crypto holdings to generate even more crypto. It's like putting your money on a roller coaster that might shoot up your returns, but well, at the same time, it brings some universal risks.
True. And speaking of risks, the DeFi space is still pretty new. Scalability issues, like those seen with Ethereum's current setup, can or slow down transactions and, well, leave room for potential hacks or financial volatility.
Yep, scalability is a big challenge. And even though Ethereum is the main stage for most DeFi projects, there's competition from other blockchains like Solana, Polkadot, and Tezos, which are trying to lower fees and speed things up.
Exactly. It really raises a question. Isn't it kind of risky to rely on one blockchain so heavily, like Ethereum, even if it's been, quite pioneering?
Yeah, that's a good point. Diversification across layer 1 blockchains is actually an intentional design element in DeFi. It forces competition among blockchains, which in turn should ideally push for improvements in speed and costs.
Right? I get that. But I wonder whether this interchain competition fully mitigates risks or if like centralization patterns might still creep in.
Well, I'd say that while DeFi has made great strides in removing central points of failure by dispersing assets and decision making, there are still concerns, especially regarding protocol vulnerabilities or how liquidity is managed.
Yeah, that's true. And let's talk about the differences between DeFi and CeFi for a moment. Traditional centralized finance limits you with banking hours and, relies on intermediaries holding all your data. DeFi, meanwhile, is open 24/7 and doesn't need such human intermediaries to function.
Exactly. CeFi tends to have built in checks like insurance and fraud protection, but at the cost of giving up some control over your assets. Conversely, with DeFi, you keep that control, but it comes with its own set of risks, like no safety net if something goes wrong.
hmm So it's a bit of a trade-off, right? You gain autonomy in DeFi, but potentially um, expose yourself to unforeseen issues without a centralized authority to bail you out.
Right, that's one of the key points. And then there's the interesting part of DeFi where you have stable coins, cryptocurrencies pegged to fiat currencies. That provides stability, which is crucial if you're doing things like lending and borrowing.
Oh, totally. Stablecoins make transactions, like payments, more predictable. Without them, the wild volatility of crypto assets could make everyday transactions super nerve-wracking.
Exactly. It's also cool how DeFi supports various applications like decentralized marketplaces and oracles that deliver real-world data. These features really round off the ecosystem by bridging off-chain and on-chain worlds.
True, oracles let prediction markets actually function, providing important data that smart contracts rely on for executing bets or financial outcomes.
And then we have lending platforms, which are arguably one of the most popular aspects of DeFi. Users can deposit their crypto as collateral to borrow funds, essentially creating a self-managed bank account that, well, never sleeps.
Right, yeah. You know, what I really appreciate is that DeFi is so transparent. Everything runs on smart contracts that anyone can inspect. Yet some might argue that despite this openness, the average person still finds it hard to navigate these protocols without technical know-how.
That's definitely a valid critique. While the permissionless nature of DeFi is empowering, it also means that if you're not tech savvy, you might easily make mistakes, like mismanaging your keys or not appreciating the risks involved in yield farming.
Right. Speaking of keys, the whole idea of self-custody wallets is amazing because you're like the sole custodian of your funds, but also solely responsible for them. So if you lose your keys, there's no one to help you.
Exactly. It's like having the keys to a super secure vault in your own home, but if you misplace them, there's no bank to call. And that's both empowering and nerve-wracking at the same time.
It's a double-edged sword. And then we get to the profit aspect, earning money with DeFi. Aside from lending and borrowing, you have staking and yield farming, where you basically earn more tokens just by participating in these networks.
Right? It's like putting your crypto to work, where your holdings generate returns. But it's also very dynamic. Yields can change quickly with market conditions, which adds a level of unpredictability to your investments.
One thing that catches my attention is how DeFi attempts to be entirely open and trustless by removing middlemen. But wouldn't you say that the entire system's reliance on code means that a small bug can create massive issues, and there's not like anyone to really hold accountable?
That's a solid challenge. While the goal is to be trustless, the reality is that code, no matter how carefully written, can have vulnerabilities. So, yes, without a central authority, when something goes wrong, there isn't that safety net you'd have in traditional banking. Mistakes or hacks can lead to significant losses, which is why a lot of people stress careful due diligence before investing.
Right, for sure. It really brings home that despite all the promises, there's still a learning curve and a set of risks that users must understand.
Indeed. And as regulators begin paying closer attention to DeFi, we'll likely see some rules developed, which might change the landscape over time. The balance between innovation and security is still, well, evolving.
Exactly. So, if someone's just dipping their toes into DeFi, what do you think is the key piece of advice they should keep in mind?
I'd say research is absolutely critical. Understand the protocols, know how stablecoins work, grasp the risks associated with yield farming, and always be cautious with your private keys. Practically, start small until you get a good feel for the ecosystem and maybe even lean on community resources to guide you.
And particularly because the space is still maturing. Plus, with advancements like Ethereum 2.0 in the pipeline, some of the current scalability issues might eventually be resolved.
Exactly. It's like watching an experimental phase of a revolution in finance. Everything is in a state of rapid evolution, and every improvement might just take DeFi one big step closer to mainstream adoption.
Definitely exciting times. It's really a balancing act between decentralization and usability, you know? The more you decentralize, sometimes the trickier it becomes to use without technical hurdles.
Sure, that's true. But the promise is there. A financial system that's more inclusive, permissionless, and free from traditional constraints. As with any emerging tech, it's about weighing the risks against the potential rewards.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, this has been a super engaging deep dive into how DeFi is reshaping finance as we know it. Thanks for walking through all those intricate details.
Anytime. It's always great to explore how technology can disrupt established systems and open up new opportunities for everyone.